Okay, well, welcome to Quixotic Heights, where we explore the stories that shape us, and the voices that heal us. I'm your host, Amy M. Lee, and today's episode is a powerful one. Our guest is Anhtuan Do, the author of Healing, which is a beautifully raw and honest book that explores the tender, often painful journey of reclaiming peace, self-worth, and truth. Through poetic language and deep introspection, Antoine invites us into a space of courage, vulnerability, and growth. In this conversation, we'll talk about the experiences that shaped his path, the challenges of writing through pain, and what healing really means, not as a destination, but as a lifelong process. So, whether you're deep in your own healing or just beginning to ask the hard questions, this episode is for you. And before we begin today, I want to have a gentle content warning and reminder. This conversation does include discussions of suicidal thoughts, mental health challenges, and if this is a sensitive topic for you listeners, please do take care while listening, and your well-being matters. So if you or someone you know is struggling, please know that help is available, and we'll include those emotional support links in the show notes today. So with that, welcome Antoine to the show. I'm glad you're here. How are you feeling today?
I am great, and really thank you for doing this and having me on here and for being my publisher. So and I don't know, like I think it's super cool, right? Like I started writing screenplays, and I'm just trying to figure out like that world, and I reached out to you because I'm like books are close to that world, right? And so you like were kind enough to chat with me for I think like half an hour, an hour, just because I reached out, and then I think it might have been like a year later. I
Hmm.
like reached out again and said, Amy, actually, I think I have a book. Can you help me? And I think it was like that call where you're like, here's this is what we got to do. And I'm like, all right, let's do it. Let's roll. And just
I
thanks for rolling with it and
It
going
is
with the
so
ride.
cool. I just think
Yeah.
when I look back and I'm like, it's funny how the universe works sometimes,
Hmm.
and we walk these parallel paths, not quite intersecting until boom, the time is right and things are going forward. And here we are today talking
Yeah.
about your book, your screenplay. So we'll definitely go into that a little bit deeper. But anyways, with that, I wanna read the back of your book, your blurb for
Yeah.
a moment, because I think it's so powerful. And listeners, just close your eyes and listen to this. I first thought about suicide when I was 12. 30 years later, I finally got help. After 10 weeks and 400 hours of therapy, writing spilled out, the first of which was a screenplay named Reunion. This is my healing journey. I'm just a simple storyteller from Maplewood, New Jersey, with a leather backpack, a duffel bag, and a travel guitar walking through the city. Okay, that just gives me chills. Your little black book titled Healing gives me chills, and it's been on a journey of its own, which we'll definitely talk about. But let's go back to what this podcast is about. It's called Quixotic Heights for a reason. I want to know what your quixotic dream was or is.
Oh my gosh. That's an interesting because it would be I would have answered that differently even when the book came out than I would today, right? And so or that I am like now. I think at the end of the day, um after this journey and just thinking and reflecting on life as a whole, um I think really what I want to do is just help in society and the world. And I don't know how that is. At first, I thought it was the screenplays and making films, but that's a much more laborious process than I had hoped and thought. And but I'm still doing it, right? Like
Well,
I want to do that. There's the book in which I think essentially helped like previous versions of myself and a lot of people who were like that and like me. But at the end of the day, like now I do a lot of other things that don't actually align with creative side. Sometimes it's business purpose or whatever it is, and like the first checkbox I have to myself is this something that I think will help, small bubble, big bubble, whatever it is. And so my dream is really just to like intentionally live every portion of my days, whether or not it helps, or with this like guiding light of help. And so I don't know if that exactly answers the question, but
No, I think that's beautiful. It's it's a beautiful dream. It's a simple dream. It's an achievable dream.
Mhm.
Um, it's kind of like, the American dream where we want the house and the 2.5 kids and the whatever,
Yeah.
the cars, whatever. And just to make it day by day, that in itself
Mhm.
is a Quixotic Heights dream to me. Uh,
Yeah.
throws so much at us, right? But okay, back to your book. The title
Yes.
itself is very empowering and powerful, healing. What does that mean to you personally?
Oh man. So first, one of the things I do want to say is like it's a choice that I think once you make, or maybe it's you don't need to make it, everyone just kind of, it is an ongoing thing and it is forever. um and I mentioned the name to somebody at one point in time. They're like, I love the fact that you made it an active verb, like an ing.
Mm,
um and so the the book itself just covers like the time where I think I would have the most transformational amount of healing, and like where I was finally able to, the voices in my head were no longer these voices of like, um you need to just go end it all, right? Like, and it transitioned to a portion of like, you do belong in this world, and that's what that means to
mm,
me. The time frame of this, um but I think it is like continues on. It is now much more of finding these little moments and meanings of life, and it healing is not necessarily just fixing the broken for me. It is like helping me find, um gosh, what I'm meant to do every day.
mm.
So I don't know. It's an
Okay.
interesting thought. It changes for me.
Sure, sure. And but at least it's purposeful and intentional, and you have that kind of
Right.
in the back of your mind or as a foundation to spring from each day,
Yeah.
and that's beautiful. What would you want the themes or the messages to resonate, or how do you want it to resonate with your readers?
I think the biggest thing is just making sure, excuse me, that people are kind to themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and that I'm going to cheer them on. I'm a cheerleader for everybody in this, wherever they are on their own journey, and that's really, um, my hope of this. And then that, you everyone belongs in this world, and if you're not, the practical side of like, if you're not feeling that, like, there's, go seek help, go find help. It's okay to ask for help. You're worth asking for that help. Again,
Mm-hmm.
I got a lot of help. It's a choice that you have to make, but and be vulnerable in ways that you never thought that you could or should.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's worth it. You're worth it. So,
Yeah. So you're really good about cheerleading for others. What does cheerleading look like for you? Like, how do you cheerlead for yourself?
oh, for myself,
Mm-hmm.
um, I base my day to day a lot on just like how I'm feeling, right? And so I saw this little TikTok the other day, and I forget who it was. Oh, it's Simon Sinek, and he talks about like the the term crushing it, right? And he's like, crushing it. But what if like on I'm gonna crush Tuesday. Today's Tuesday, right? But what if crushing it is like, what if you can't get out of bed that day? What if you just need to slip and veg out and like check out of the world?
Mm,
The term crushing it is at least associated with accomplishment, which
mm,
could lead you kind of down a spiral, right? And so
right.
it's just like redefining everything. So like, what do I need today? What do I feel like I need today? And being okay with that. And maybe crushing Tuesday is calling in sick, taking a mental health day, or maybe it is like, waking up, taking the kids to school, going to work, like doing it, but taking that every day and going with like what you need and feel.
Mm.
So yeah.
So you said earlier about, us, each individual person is worth it. And
Hmm.
if we need help, we need to, not be afraid to reach out and get that help. But what does help look like when, or what if the situation is, you pick up the phone or you text your friend and no response. You call another person, no response. They don't have time for you. At what point do you feel like you're able to reach someone or be heard, right, in your silent struggle?
Yeah. Well, so there are publicly available like 988, which is like the suicide hotline. That's if you get to that point. Um, and so that's what I would say, like that's always there. Like
Mhm.
just know that that is available. Um, but then a lot of it too, through this journey as well, I've gotten very spiritual, not religious in a sense, right? There's no like delineation for me about what religion you are, but just like this belief that there's the universe, something greater out there that's really out for everyone's greatest good.
Mhm.
That's what I believe to my core. And so just knowing that and just like leaning into that, particularly if you can't get someone specific in person or through text or something, because life is busy, but there's always, I believe, some entity there, however you decide to refer to them, that is with you, that is there, for you. Um, and just like living in that.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
a little curiosity question. Your book is $11.11.
Yeah.
What do those numbers mean to you?
If for me it is all like it is very like universal and you hear like the angel numbers and all of that sort of
Mhm.
stuff. And so from what I understand, like some of the meaning that a lot of people apply to that 1111 is like the start of something like a new beginning, right?
Mhm.
And so essentially this is that was a new beginning for me. It really is um those 6-ish months, 5-ish, 6-ish months in there. I really like shed a whole portion of me. It's there, it exists, and I love it for the fact that I lived that life. But I'm also a very, very different person today. It's the typical phoenix, right? My first and favorite tattoo, it's been referenced in the book, is a phoenix. Like that portion of me died, burned away, and like reborn. So
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
kind of like why I leaned towards that.
Yeah. No, I see like every once in a while I'll look at the clock and I'll see 11:11 and I'm like, "Oh, something juicy is happening in the
Yeah,
world today." Right now.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So what was the process of writing the book like for you? What was there a routine?
Oh,
Are you a morning person? Tell us more.
so I don't have the process for this. This is very different, right? So, this is my journal and my therapy notes from those 5 or 6 months. I didn't write it with the intention of publishing it. I wrote it like I'm a nerdy kid. That's how I was brought up, and so in my therapy sessions, I took copious notes and I got these tools and I would take them and once I figured out something that would work, I would go off and do it on my own, right? And do it with all of these other like incidents from my past life or, as a child, what I grew up in and just kind of like just kept doing it. I didn't like reserve it for the time with my therapist. I just kept going. Um, and then my journal. So, one of the things that my therapist first said is like, join the support group
Mm-hmm.
for men going through divorce, something that you don't like hear about a lot, right? Like, and so I did, and these guys, whom to this day, 75, 80% of them, I don't know what they look like because it's
Mm-hmm.
based in chat. I don't know what most of them sound like. There have been a few that I like reach out and talk to a lot. So I do know the sounds of their voice, but I have still yet to give these guys a hug, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so one of them suggested that I start journaling, and I did. And this was just for me. It was all just my process of healing. And I was hanging out with a friend and his wife, like the summer that I reached out to you. And his wife said, like, what was it like? Like, what was your journey like? Just like out of curiosity. And so I've got this therapy notebook and my journal with me. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to walk through it. So I walked through those 5, 6 months. Um, they're crying, I'm crying, like all of that stuff, and like bonding in a way that we never thought we
Mm,
could. And at the end of that, I don't even know how it came out. They're like, if something, so it was just like, if this was out there, it could really help. You don't know who can help. And at the end of the day, I was thinking about it, and I was like, if 18-year-old me had known that there was a way to live without thinking about ending it all regularly, I don't know if he would have gotten help, but he
mm,
would have at least known there was a different way. I just didn't know. I was so young. I thought everybody every day just kind of, or most days, I shouldn't say every day, most days just kind of like woke up or like would fall asleep hoping that they wouldn't wake up. Right.
mm,
Like I just thought everyone was like that. And it wasn't until I knew going through this that, there was a different way to live life. So I'm like, okay, if this was out there for 18-year-old me, and if I put it on the bench at Notre Dame where I used to sit in between my two choir rehearsals, and if he had found it, I would have read it. It's so
mhm.
small and
Yeah.
and like not overwhelming, and I probably would have cried. I don't know if I would have gotten help. I
Mm,
don't remember myself that well, and so but I would have known, and so then I was like, you know what, I need to. That's what at that point in time, I think that's what I'm meant to do. I'm supposed to get this out there so that people who don't know can at least have a chance of knowing, and that it would be okay to ask for help. And so then I talked to you, and I like went and rewrote all of these journal entries and the therapy notes in a way that made it sound pretty, because that is not how I right. You
That's
know,
what
like
editors are for, Antoine. Like
yeah,
we just write and they turn the coals into
yes.
diamonds, right?
Right, and then you have a great one, right? He helped me out a great deal. But even like before that, I just kind of went through and just kind of like rewrote it a few times, each of these things, and had to figure out what I was going to put in and out of it, right? Because I do journal most days.
Mhm.
And this is just to set, and I've got it right here. So like it's only oh, I didn't number how many entries there are, but it's a subset of like how I could craft these together into a narrative as best a narrative could be.
Mhm.
Um, so there was no process behind it. I know a long way to answer your question. I just wrote it for myself, and at some point in time, I was like, "Man, this would really help to get it out there. How in the world do I get it out there?" And I'm like, "Wait a second." I talked with this woman named Amy, I think, like a year ago about like screenplays and then I got on the call and you kind of like said, this is the process, this is how I do it, blah 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 blah. And I'm like, well, that sounds easy enough. And I'm not gonna go out there and try and sell this to a publishing company like a old school, not old school, let me just say it, big
Traditional.
box. Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
sure. And I'm like, because I want to get this up there. Um and like you were able to help me do it in like 6 weeks or something like that.
I
And it
know
was
it's ridiculously
incredible.
fast. You know what?
Yeah.
When and we're gonna do a little sidetrack here because when authors come to Quillhawk Publishing and they ask the question, "How long is it going to take me to publish my book?" I'm like, we've done it in as little as 3 months and as much as 2 years. It just really depends on the author's, journey and what when they're ready. But you now I have to say, oh, we've done it in like 6 weeks.
I, I
I have to
honestly
change my narrative.
well, I mean, because
Um,
we got to a point that even I wanted to say because I was trying to shoot for like October, so
mhm.
like and so like I think you were actually ready at the end of September. I'm like, well, can we wait? Can we go back? Right?
Yeah, the author tells me to wait. Wow, that's
Yeah.
something. Um,
Yeah,
you have your book with you. Would you be willing to do a little reading for the listeners?
yeah, I will. And just for like those who are on there, and don't be like I may or may not cry depending on which ones. If you ever go on the Instagram, it's also up there, right? Um, and so what I'm gonna read is actually one that um, was probably one of the first reasons, or one of the reasons that, and it actually has nothing to do with suicide. It has to do with divorce. And so a little bit about me, the divorce, like when that came to fruition with my ex and I, and like we knew that was an inevitability. Um, that was like the worst point in my life. It's because at that point in time, my meaning of living was for this family, and this family was getting broken, and so I was like, this just logistically, if I could just save the kids from this pain of living through, and I just disappeared, um, that might be easier for everybody, right? And so the divorce was the precipice for a lot of this, which is I again, my therapist is a therapist for men going through divorce, and all of these tools that he had me go through, like really helped me with my all the other voices in my head. Right.
Mhm.
So it's like one of those interesting, like you talked about like the universe, right? I went in there for guys going through divorce, and figuring out how the logistics of that and how people do it. And like at the same time, like just healing everything else. So I'm going to read this, which is kind of like, I woke up this morning. It's February 1st, 2023. And like, we had already decided that, we needed to figure out how we were going to live life no longer as partners, like a week before. Right. And so I woke up this morning of February 1st, and like I saw this, which is why I like write screenplays, right? I see scenes. And so I decided to like write it out. Clearly, this is sounds way better than what's in my, but I'm going to read that. So it's called Dense Forest. I title all of my journal entries, which I don't know if people do that, but I do. It's called Dense Forest, February 1st, 2023. Um, okay, I am going to cry. I can
Me
already
too.
tell.
Me too. It's okay.
um, my wife and I are struggling in a dense forest. We're clawing, we're scratching. We're doing everything we can to get out. We see glimpses of light, but it dissipates quickly. We turn and look at each other. We realize we have to go our separate ways. She has her way out of the forest. I have a mine. We look around. We make eye contact one last time. We nod. We turn in our directions. We head off. I take my first step. I turn and I see her step. I don't know if she looks. I walk, she walks. I turn back again, and I see her further away. I walk, she walks. Eventually, I look in her direction and I don't see her. I sit down. I pull my knees to my chest. I put my head down. I cry. I don't know how long the tears fall, but as they slow, a feeling of hope flows throughout. I know we both truly started our journey to happiness. I look directly behind me where my 42 years of pain follows. I recognize it's there, but I also know that from here on out, it will never lead my life again. My life is too short to let the pain lead. The further I walk, the further it falls. I know that my pain will continue to test me, but I also know I'll get through it. I know there's a clearing ahead. I trust that the universe is guiding me there. I say to myself, just one step at a time. One step makes it easy. I can always take one step. I breathe in, I breathe out. I take one last look in her direction. I send her my love. I face my own direction. I take my next step. So yeah.
Wow.
So
What was that one line you said about um leading with pain. Uh,
Oh, yeah. Um, it is.
Life is too short, I think it was.
Yeah, I recognize. So I look directly behind me where my 42 years of pain follows. I recognize that it's there, but I also know that from here on out, it will never lead my life again. My life is too short to let the pain lead.
I love that. It's it, it's just it's very succinct in terms of how the rhythm of life goes, the circle of life too. It's we deal with a lot of pain. We mourn the loss of something before we start anew.
Yeah.
Um, so thank you for reading that. Uh,
Yeah. No, thank you.
I felt every single word. And, as you were reading, I was thinking about my marriage to my husband, whom I love so dearly. And, we have our 16-year-old boy who's about to go to Seattle on his own for a
Yeah.
year. Oh my goodness, and so it's
I
just
don't know how you do that. Yeah.
yeah, and just to think, what we hold so dear and what we fight so hard to build, you know,
Mhm.
it's so fragile. It can just crumble in in a short notice. And so, um, anyway, thank you for reading that.
Yeah.
What surprised you the most about yourself during this process of either writing or healing, going through therapy?
I think honestly, I think the most surprising thing is that I am creative. I do want to create art, right?
Mm,
Like whatever it is. I was like raised and told myself even like that I was not. I'm a math and science kid. I'm gonna
mm,
code and I'm gonna do all stuff. And like now in retrospect, I'm like, even that stuff is creative. That was just an outlet back then, but now like I've added in like other things that, like what people traditionally say is creative, like writing and music and things like that. But then I also kind of like reflected a little bit too, because I still remember my college internship junior year. I like at MrExcel.com. I don't even know if they like still exist, but he was a great guy. And I remember writing some code, and then he had a blog at that point in time, and I'm like, can I publish this code on the blog? Because I remember looking at it and thinking, man, this is so succinct. It's so short in code. It all makes sense because code is like you can write a million different things to achieve the same like outcome. And I was so
mm.
proud of that. And then like now, like sitting back, I'm like, wait, that is creative. That's a creative endeavor as well. And so like the recognition that I am creative, that I think everybody in this world is creative if you choose to like look at it in that way. And maybe that's like one of those things that feeds us as humans is want to create something
Mhm.
and to like
Yeah,
leave it.
yeah.
Um,
That's a
yeah.
really nice introspective discovery, because I think you're right. Even if we're, wired a certain way, we all have that creativity within us, whether it be songwriting, cooking and creating something masterful in the kitchen. You
Oh,
have your guitar. I see keyboards behind you.
yeah.
I won't ask you to perform for us and
Oh,
sing
good. Nothing's prepared.
another podcast. But
Yeah, there you go.
you said something about succinct, and it made me think of your cover actually on your book. Can you
Mm,
just show it to those who are watching on
yeah.
Spotify and YouTube? I love this
There you
cover. When I first saw it, I thought, hmm, it's definitely not covers I'm used to uh,
go.
helping to create. But then upon reflection, I realized the word healing just truly stands out, and there's nothing around it but I see it as a black book that is a peaceful black. It's just being looking inward, and the cover itself is very simple and it just focuses directly on the word itself. There's no other jargon on the cover, right? That makes you that takes the focus away from it is what I'm trying to say. I'm not very eloquent today, but I love that. I love that cover. Um, so whoever designed it, I mean, actually, you had a lot of say in the design. So well done.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you. Yeah.
absolutely. Okay, so you
So,
do screenwriting too. Let's talk a little bit about that. Why screenwriting and what is Reunion about?
okay, so the why, I think it's another one of these things that I didn't actually really choose it, right?
Mm,
So um you read the back of the book, right? 400 hours and 10 weeks. So if you look at the timeline, like calendar wise, it is right like March 1st, 2023, right? Um, and so that's how I come up with the 10 weeks. In my life, that is like the line, like the delineating, almost fabricated date, because I would consider writing Reunion was also very therapeutic in and of itself.
mhm.
Um, but oh, okay, I'll bounce around a little bit. Let me tell you what the film is about because um it'll tie back. So my mom and dad, Vietnamese, South Vietnamese, right? They're married in 1970, and they had my sister in 1970. In 1973, my dad gets a US AID scholarship to come to the States, and he takes it to get a graduate economics degree at Vanderbilt. My mom and sister stay behind in Vietnam. He's supposed to graduate in May, June of 1975. For those of us who are familiar with the Vietnam War, fall of Saigon is April 30th, 1975. So right before he's about to get back and reunite with his family, they are stuck and they lose complete contact, right? Because my dad is in America.
Mhm.
And so my sister and my mom are in Vietnam, and then they are boat people, and they escape in 1978, and they reunite.
Mm.
And so the screenplay starts 1 week before my dad leaves and concludes the day they're reunited on June 16th,
Oh.
1978. Right. And so that's like the story. It's changed. It's 90% fiction now. It's based on true events. The main beats are the same, but I moved the timeline further up because all the stuff. My sister is no longer a 3-year old to 8-year old. She's like an 11 to 15 because there's practicalities behind it too. You got to find an actor who can act, and you can't get a 3-year old right to like. So I may even age her up again, right? Like depending on like what's required as I continue to rewrite. But anyhow, I wake up on the morning of March 2nd. You'll find with me a lot of my themes like this like these couple of hour or these couple of like moments as I'm waking up, and there's a lot that happens in my mind there. Um, so morning of March 2nd, I wake up and I see the a scene. It's a fictional scene. And this scene has actually kind of mostly stayed the same, even through 29 drafts. The film has changed a lot, but this scene has stayed. And it's the last night my dad, mom, and sister are together, and he's saying goodbye. Totally fictional. They don't even know like what happens, and like they don't remember what happened. And there's like all these little things that I've added to, and I see it, and then that night I decide to like pull my keyboard out and just write it
Mm.
down, right? And then over the next 14 days, like all of these scenes come into my head, and I just start writing them, and it messy. It doesn't make any sense. So much so that I have a coworker who is a friend who writes horror screenplays, and he's made a few of them. And she sent it to him, and his response was like, "This is literally the worst screenplay I've ever read, and you will never get accepted to a screenplay competition." Accepted. So that film now, though, I think is now placed in 30 competitions. There's this like platform called Coverfly, and the industry is changing a lot. So like but there's this platform where you can like submit to competitions and things like that, and it sits in the top 1% of all projects, right?
Mm.
Like there. And so because I knew the story was good, I just didn't know how you write a screenplay. And what I want to say is, even though he said that, it was also the first time in my life where I didn't
Mhm.
hear a piece of feedback like that drastic and to say, okay, that's not for me. I'm not going to do it. Because I knew it's a good story. It's the first time in my life. I'm like, why? And he actually ended up helping me out he rewrote a scene. And just like from rewriting that one scene, I understood like the style of writing. And then another
Yeah.
screenwriter was like, use this software. It makes it easier. You don't have to try and format everything yourself. Then these two guys helped me kind of like get through some of the logistical kind of things. And then I just started to like refine it. I would talk to everybody about it. I'd send it. I protected them. They helped me figure out. One of them helped me figure out like, hey, you gotta like register with the WGA, copyright office, do all this stuff. Um, and then it was like, now let's just go make it better. And it's not it's not in its best version, and I will keep working on it until essentially the film is made. Right. So
I
that's
don't think that's how that works, Antoine. Uh,
I don't put as much time into rewrites. Like the early ones, there was a lot of feedback, a lot of like things I would go back into a rewrite right away. And now, the last draft of this was uh maybe last May. So it's
mhm.
been a while, but there's two people, a screenwriter in Australia, and then a woman who was on Broadway for a while. She's read it, and they give me some really good feedback. I'm waiting on one more set of feedback, and I'm going to go through another rewrite, taking it. So I don't immediately go right away anymore.
Yeah.
It's just like I let them kind of like film. It's good enough that I can talk to it. It can show my style. I know it fits in the world. Now the hard part is figuring out the rest of that world, which is
Yeah.
very, very
Yeah.
difficult at this point in time. But I know the quality is there and it's professional enough that it could fit. And so now it's like, okay, making sure that when I am going to spend those hours to write another draft, that it is incorporating of a lot of feedback. So that's what
Mhm.
I mean by I'll keep working on it
Yeah,
until.
yeah, yeah. Did you ever connect, or did I ever connect you to either Phil Clark or Bob Sines, who are the two screenwriters in my world? One's in the UK, the other one's in the US. Trying to think.
So I would love to chat with them though.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought I connected you to one or both of them. But anyway, so the you mentioned software for screenwriting. Is that Final Draft that you use?
Yeah. That's what
Okay.
I think what most people use as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Screenwriting is very interesting because, as a novelist, you really have to like just cut to the chase, right? Because one thing I learned about producing movies or directing movies or whatever is one page is equivalent to $1 million in budget, which is equivalent to 1 minute in a scene, or right. And so
yeah.
you can't be all elaborate and show. You do really just have to say, okay, outdoor. This
Yes,
is what's going on.
exactly.
Um,
Yeah. Which is
yeah.
very different. Like, because that was actually one of the early feedback from that. He's like, you're writing in this half prose,
Mm.
half screenplay. You're writing like it's a book. And if you want to go that, go book. And I'm like, I don't want to write at this point in time. This is good. I'm writing the screenplay first. I'm like, I don't write books. Funnily enough, like the first thing comes out is a book. So yeah, and so like it's a very different style of writing.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Well, that's why they say writers are always cold because we're always living in drafts. We constantly are fine tuning it, and at some point we have to just let it go, right? Let that baby go,
yeah.
and and then we got to do the budgeting, the financing. So let's talk
Hmm.
about the financing because getting a movie made is not easy. What has
No.
your journey been like in trying to maybe shop your manuscript around or not your script around, but also trying to enter it into maybe festivals, contests? I don't know. Tell me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are the competitions, right? So I've entered into a lot of competitions. I've placed in a lot, and that's part of the reason why I traveled. I was able to travel so much and drop books, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But like
Yeah.
those were like I went to the Utah Film Festival because Reunion was nominated in their script category, and then I went to like but the Barcelona film. Like I'm paying out of my own pocket at that point in time, but it's different when it's just me and it's short and like um, and so doing a lot of that, and but the the leap from there to getting it made, especially with Reunion's a bit more expensive than your traditional like drama film because the last third of the movie is the escape, right? That's a lot of like you got the boat and like on the water and like all of that sort of stuff. So it costs a little more. And so I've kind of not shied away because the industry is also in disarray right now. Like the whole
Mhm.
like so for me, I can't control that today. And so what I do control is I'm just out to learn the film industry. I meet as many people as I can. I learn as much as I can, whether they're finance people, creative people, administrative people. I spent like an hour with an assistant on an agent's desk who had just been
Hmm.
out of school for like 6 months because he had been in this industry longer than I have, right? So that's
Yeah.
what I've been doing for the last couple of years. I've also written a short film script that's actually based a lot on some of the tools in my book. Nothing to with the story, but like inner child, like all this stuff, but put against a narrative backdrop. Um, and that those are far cheaper to make and produce. So I've worked with a couple of production companies that kind of understand the ballpark of the budgets, and that I'm raising for like friends and family or like whoever is out there. And then at some point in time, I'll figure out how much I can put in, and my partner will put in, and then we'll just do it. And then we'll do the next phase and probably go submit those. I don't the things that I write, particularly the screenplays, are not things that I want to sell. Like I need to be there. That story is so personal. I met a writer, and he has made a bunch of films now, and he's read them, and he was saying, "Man, these are so personal to you." And he's like, "One of the things that you should consider is a lot of times when a script gets bought, it changes drastically." And he's like, you shouldn't do that with these. Like,
Mm.
and I'm lucky in a sense that this is what I do in my own time, right? And so I'm not reliant. I don't have to make a financial decision based on that creative work. I'm making it out of the art that I want to make. And
Yeah.
so it's not really, there's no timetable for me. It is
Yeah.
just how do I get to the point so that I can get these made but maintain creative high creative input, if not control, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Hence
the
the
short
appeal
first.
for the indie, but with
Yeah.
the bit of control, but also the money part is tough.
Yeah, it is.
For those who want to support you though and contribute to see this film produced and made, how do they support you?
Well, so there's a GoFundMe, right, for
Okay.
the short film itself. That's specific to the short. Um, but honestly, like only do if you like the thing I think I've actually helped the most to the world and to the is if they just buy the book.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure like most if not all, at least in the short term, like whatever comes from that will likely go towards the short.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll buy the book, everyone, and write a
Yeah.
review because
Yeah.
yes, definitely write reviews. I'm always encouraging people to write reviews because it does give us visibility, as writers, and it gives readers an opportunity to take a chance on a book or an author, that they may
Yeah.
not know. So, okay. I want to move on a little bit more about breaking the silence. What was it like for you? First of all, when did this start? When did you start to feel like, you know, you were either sad, depressed, or you just felt like, it was time for you to go? Was there a defining moment, or, how did this start for you?
And so that's a loaded question, which we could talk about for hours. I was in junior high though. It was definitely, I think junior high for a lot of people is a tough time.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point in time, I was grappling with a lot of different things. So my dad he passed away recently, a Catholic deacon,
Mm-hmm.
and also like keep in mind I have a very different relationship with religion today. I used to like have a lot of animosity towards it
Mm-hmm.
because of how it could make someone feel. And today it's much more like, no, that's just their way. If you live in the love side of all these religions, it's beautiful. It's community, there's like forgiveness, there's all this stuff. It's when you live in the judgment side that I think, and so I actually, I will go to church with my mom all the time now when I'm in Houston, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
so there's that. But at that point in time, I had a lot of things that I didn't agree with in the church. And so inside, I was considering myself not a religious person. I could not expose that externally because my dad's the deacon of the church and the shame that it would have brought on the family, right? Um, that was an aspect, being like a Asian American in a predominantly white community. Like there are a lot of these things, and I just didn't ever have an outlet to talk about it with anybody or get to a point. And so, and coupled with like the things that you would hear that who I believed myself to be was in many times said in the church, like those people go to hell, right? Like,
Mhm.
and so like, but I couldn't talk about it with them.
Yeah.
I couldn't express that, and so I started to internalize a lot of that. And then there's like other things and like things that I did that I wasn't proud of that would just kind of spiral out. And then at some point in time, um, in like the sixth or seventh grade, I remember like seeing this student, but I don't remember like which year it was. Um, he gave me this look at a story that would take too far to tell, but I've actually talked about it on other podcasts as well. But I remember him looking at me and like this the thought behind his eyes were like, how could you? Like you were like my only friend. Like how could you have done something like that? And
Mm.
like here's me who is like not like bottom of the social ladder in junior high. Like I was the kid who sat by myself at lunch reading John Grisham books, like by myself. And I was being made fun of all the time. And here I was, who this other kid who was like new to the school and just seeking a friend. And I'm like, okay, I will hang out with you, but not in school. And then like all this, and then he like, and I was like, so even in an instance where it was social standing in junior high, this kid who was maybe the only one that might not be a social, like I just destroyed his world. I just let him down so much. And I'm like, I am not even capable or worthy enough to help out that kid. Like this, I just don't, there's no use for me in this world. And so that's like the first time I think that I could actively remember thinking about that. I'm sure there was others. I was well depressed before that as a kid, just based on like a lot of different things. Um, but then that's the way I basically kind of lived life forever. It was like letting people down was like my go-to like thought process. But then at the same time, like if I was like I couldn't just do it. I wasn't gonna leave a note. I didn't want to like it had to look like an accident because I didn't want to burden anybody with like this thoughts of like, well, what if they had done something different? It literally it's so like in this weird, like interesting way, this thought of like not bothering or being burdensome actually kept me from actually doing it because I didn't want to burden somebody with, you know, my
Yeah.
suicide. So it's interesting. And now it's like the biggest blessing. Like now I think oh, I know that's part of what I'm supposed to do is just to like tell people about it. And I had to live through that and understand what that life was like in order to
Yeah.
like talk about it and get to it. And by the way, when I first started talking about it in that like April of 23 timeframe, just bawling the entire time. I could not. And one of my friends, Chris, actually, he's in the book. He's one of my best friends. We were on a call once and he's like, it should just be like if you break your ankle and you tell people and you go get it taken care of and they're there to help you. They're gonna bring you food and like all that stuff, like to help you kind of get through those weeks or time frame. He's like, that's really what it should be like. You should be
Mhm.
able to like talk about it, destigmatize it. And so I've
Yeah.
consciously done that. And now I can talk about it matter of factly, like right now. If this was 2 years ago, what are we in July? Maybe like 2 years and 2 months ago, I would not be coherent at all. Like just
Yeah.
even, but now it's like, okay, I'm going to talk about it. I want people to know that it happened. And you would be surprised how many people have personal experience, not like maybe not sometimes themselves, but a brother, a sister, a close friend or whatever.
Yeah.
Parents. Oh my gosh, the number of parents who have reached out on Instagram of their kids who have committed suicide is heartbreaking
Mm,
and yet like inspiring in a sense, because in
mhm,
some weird way, like I what I usually tell them, because they a lot most parents will come and be like, what did I do, or is there anything I could have done different? And I get to talk to them, or at least message them. Most it's not talking through them, but like it's the reverse. It is, you don't know if they would have done it earlier if not
mhm,
for something you had done, right?
mhm,
And somehow that like, because it's true, there's so many people throughout my life who don't know today, and I probably couldn't place a finger on it exactly, but I just know that like people have saved me by just giving me a smile on the street one day that
mhm,
like just got me through another day. Um, and I don't know them. I wish that I did, if I could tell them thank you.
mhm.
But I'm thankful that, and I think maybe on some universal level, they know. At least that's my hope.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Well, you've been busy dropping books here and
yeah,
there. Let's go back to that because I said this earlier offline that we need to put a tracker on you, Antoine, because I'm like, you're in Boston, and then all of a sudden you're in Barcelona or something. I'm like, what? Can you tell us a little bit about why you decided to leave these books in certain places? What's your hope, and what are some of the responses you've received?
yeah. So just kind of referencing back, right? I wrote it. The reason it's published is for my 18-year-old version of myself. And like in this whole like weird, and I know this doesn't actually happen, but if it was even like minutely possible in the world of quantum physics, if I were to able to walk around and leave this, and I did find 18-year-old me in some alternate universe, and maybe like they aligned in that one moment, that he could live a very different 30 years. And so that's why it's out there and it's doing it, knowing that that is also not, you know, a matter of fact in our living world. I mean,
Yeah,
I
but
get,
it can be a
I believe it.
script.
Yeah,
Sounds
yeah,
like a movie
exactly.
script.
Yeah, right. Um, uh, I leave it for people who are like 18-year-old, 21-year-old, 25-year-old, 30-year-old me, right? Which far more than I thought. And then I asked you early on, like I knew I was going to do the reason I was even coming to you to publish it, because I knew I was going to leave this everywhere. And I'm a tech guy. I grew up in tech, so I'm like data. And so I'm like, can we put a QR code on there to the website? Because I want people to register this book. And I wanted to see where, for me, it's like a message in a bottle. And it's so
Hmm.
cool to like send a message in a bottle out, but you never get to know what happens to it. And so for me, I'm like, even if one person like registers the book and tells me, I will get to see, and I will get to see if that book gets registered multiple times. Like, where does it go? Like, it was just so exciting. So
Yeah,
thank you for doing that. I know
that's
it's
brilliant.
totally out of the ordinary,
Brilliant
but
idea.
yeah, I mean, it's fun. It's really just fun. And so I've numbered every book that I leave, and I go and I drop it and I leave it for people to find. And what I didn't realize was I've built an automatic feedback loop
Mm,
of like reinforcing the good that it does.
mm,
Um, right? Because um, I hear what like there are some people, and I haven't gotten like full permission from everybody to like, but like multiple people who have been suicidal themselves, some people who have said like, I know God loves me because I found this, I'm here, and this and that. um and then what's super interesting now is that like there are a handful of people who drop it on their own, and then like they've created profiles, and then the website now assigns you a number if it's not like, and and so like they go and they drop. And then a few months ago, I started to see some books pop and move, which is super exciting. So, like when I was in Barcelona, I dropped a book, and there's one book number. I posted this on Instagram. I don't remember the number now, but it's on the Instagram post. And a person like picked it up and they registered the book, and all they wrote in the comments. Usually, like I get a comment. If they do leave a comment, it is like beautiful and heartwarming and heartbreaking at the same time, right? This one, all it said was suspicious. right? And then like I laughed out loud. It was so awesome to see. And like if they had like left their contact information, I would have been like, when I am in Barcelona next, or if you're ever in New York, let's have coffee because I just want to meet this person. But they didn't. They just left suspicious. A week later, that same book was registered on the morning commuter train in Frankfurt, which is
Mm.
like 12 hours, like 1,000, like 12 hours away commute.
Yeah.
And so like this person who had put suspicious either themselves had taken it to Frankfurt and left it on a train for somebody else to find, or it had traveled, it traversed, across Europe there. And it's just so cool to see that. And neither one of those had like these comments, but it was cool to see it. And now it's happened like, a book in LA is in Pittsburgh, right?
Wow.
Oh no,
Wow.
not Pittsburgh, Minneapolis, right?
Uh-huh.
And like the very first day I dropped these, so the book was available on Amazon 10/4, but that wasn't the final one. Someone actually, there's one person who bought that, right? I like published it so I can get a proof copy so I could read. Oh, but then, the 10/10 is like the one that is like the one where the ones that I drop, right? Because I
Yeah.
bought a whole bunch of them. Um, so the first day I dropped books was October 13th, 2024 in New
Mm.
York in Central Park. And again, crazy idea. I don't know like if this is so like I'm going around and I just posted back then I used to post every book number and where I dropped it. Now I don't. It's kind of gotten repetitive. I've dropped like 900 books, given away 1,200 now, so it's not, you know. Um
Wow.
yeah, but book 7 was in Central Park on the mall, and I was getting on a plane to LA the next day, and I like posted up the 10 books that I dropped, and I'm like, I don't know if they go anywhere, but hopefully they find somebody who needs it. And Facebook being what it is, a friend of mine from college who I hadn't spoken to in decades, and she and her husband live in like Ohio. um, she was in New York, and she was like, Antoine. So she like commented on the thing. She was like, Antoine, I'm at the mall. I just saw a man pick up your book, flip through it, and put it in his
What?
pocket. Yeah. And so book
Oh, no.
7 has started its journey. I think that's exactly what she wrote in the comments. And I was just like so excited, like immediate validation of like, okay, at least one has gone somewhere. Whether or not it helps, I don't know, but someone's picked it up, and
Yeah.
I hope that it has, and it's traversed, and um, it's
That is
just
so
so
cool.
cool to
That's a
see.
lot of
Yeah,
book babies out in the world.
yeah,
Just randomly on book benches, I mean on bench, I don't
yeah,
know, benches, airports, whatever, buses.
yeah. I mean, I
Yeah.
think I've gone now since October of 24.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's coming up. We're in. I mean, whatever it is, 32 cities, and
Wow.
um 800. No, like 900 left books, like dropped books. But then, I did those things where I sent it to all the independent bookstores too. I sent 300
Mhm.
to, but 6 to 50, I don't remember, independent bookstores, but didn't like ask them just to have someone read it and then
Yeah.
give that person 5 books and they can give it to whomever they want. I don't even know what happened to those.
Yeah.
Um, who
Okay.
knows?
Okay.
None of those bookstores are carrying it. I do know that because I would see it. um,
Well, I hope that, eventually all your books do get registered and you find out where book one through whatever, what journey they've been on. That's really cool. So we are
yeah, I hope
actually
so too.
wrapping up on our hour already, and
Oh,
I know I was like, oh my gosh, I looked at the clock and I was like, no. Was there anything else that we didn't touch on that you want to touch on, Antoine?
not really. I mean, just to again kind of reiterate like the gratitude that I have to you, and like, oh, so much of this stuff happens because of what you're doing, and not just me, right? Like you have a bunch of authors who have written like so like important things that need to be out in the world, and however big or small they happen to make it, like, they've all like Oklahoma City. I mean, there's just so many of these super exciting good that is
Mhm.
out there because you've made it possible for them and for us to do it. And now the pot like so just this thank you and like I'm so glad that I'm part of this, family of yours that you've
Aw,
created.
me too. Thank you so much. It's been so much fun, and this podcast has actually been something that I look forward to every day when I get to talk one on one, with my authors or people that I don't even know. Kind of like your books, right? I mean, you just throw it
Yeah.
out in the universe, and people come to you one way or another for a reason. And I just love listening to the stories, finding what challenges you have, how we can inspire others and keep people to keep keeping, So, but with that, thank you so much for being on the show. I want to thank you also for just bravely sharing your story and showing up. And I think you'll be able to help so many people, especially those who are listening or who are watching Quixotic Heights. And this will be released, this year, but you never know. 1 or 2 years from now, somebody's going to listen or read, watch this podcast, and they're gonna like, hey, I have book one, or what?
Yeah, that would be so cool. That would be so awesome.
You never
Book one,
know.
by the way, I saved for Notre Dame. So like that one bench that I referenced, like it took me a while to get to Notre Dame, but I saved book one to drop specifically on that bench.
Oh
So
wow. Okay.
yeah.
I love it. Well, listeners, thank you for joining today for this heartfelt conversation with Anhtuan. Your book, Healing, Anhtuan, is more than just words on a page. It really is a companion for anyone who's navigating grief, who is going through trauma, who is facing, questioning their identity, or just going through some sort of transformation for themselves. So thank you for writing that and sharing that. Listeners, if today's episode resonated with you, please do share it with a friend. Please subscribe, leave us a review. Do follow Anhtuan. Where can we find you, by the way? I didn't ask that.
Oh, so there's like the Instagram is probably where I keep
Okay.
the most people. So it's Anhtuan.42, Anhtuan.42. And then on there's like a link tree to everything else, right? Like the website or like
Okay.
whatever.
Yes. So please do
Yeah.
follow him. Pick up his book, Healing by Anhtuan Do. And we'll also have a link to your fundraiser or GoFundMe,
Oh,
I think
yes.
it is. Yes. For your movie, hopefully, reunion.
Yes.
We want to see that on the big screen. Without further ado, I guess I would just sign off and say thank you again, and be well. Take care.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
Thank you.